It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Miami Marlins. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium for Game 3 of the 4 with Miami. Sunday night, when the Marlins arrived here, they had a lot of weight on their minds because they had lost 5 straight series to the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Well, by winning the first 2 games of the series, should they win tonight or tomorrow, they will have won a series against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium for the first time since July of 2010. For Miami, they were going to pitch Jared Cosart tonight, but instead he's having some problems. They sent him down to the minor leagues, and instead they have brought up a left-hander, Justin Nicolino. He made his debut last year with a 7-inning shutout against Cincinnati, but then the Dodgers beat him the following week. For the Marlins, they've won 3 in a row. They're 6 back of Washington. For the Dodgers, trying to avoid their first 3-game losing streak. They're a game and ahead of Arizona. However, the Giants won today, so technically they're 1 in front of San Francisco. On the mound for the Dodgers, Scott Kazmir, he with the sore thumb. He's trying to win his 100th victory in his career. He's 2-1 lifetime against Miami. So those are the pregame notes. Pull up a chair and stay with us. We have a good ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by T-Mobile. Get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, Game 3 of the 4-game series with the Marlins. The Dodgers, having lost their first 2 games, that means they're trying to dodge a 3-game losing streak. They're also reminded that Don Mattingly's club has won 3 in a row, and we can take a look at Don's lineup. Should they win tonight or tomorrow, it means the Marlins will have won a series against the Dodgers here in Dodger Stadium for the first time since 2010. So here's their lineup. Dee Gordon leading off, Martin Prado at third, Christian Yelich in left field, Giancarlo Stanton in right, Marcell Ozuna in center, JT Realmuto behind the plate, Chris Johnson at first base, Adeiny Echevarria at short, and Justin Nicolino on the mound. Yelich standing, gazing out at Scott Kazmir. And Yelich, Christian Yelich, has become one of the finest hitters in the game. And he's so important because he bats just ahead of the big guy, Giancarlo Stanton. So we're about ready to get underway. Scott Kazmir, 1 record, 1-1, and lifetime 2-1 against the Marlins. Left-hander delivers off the plate, ball 1. He's had trouble with his left thumb, but we'll see how he goes tonight. Dee Gordon usually keeps the infield on its toes. No different now as he takes a slow curveball for a strike. One thing Gordon has not done so far this year is pile up the infield hits. 2 years ago he had 55. Last year he had 52. Right now he has 7. Swings right through a fastball in on top of him, and the count 1-2. Beautiful evening, albeit 61 degrees, but no wind and a nice sky. As we come right back to Kazmir's pitch, pulled on the ground into right field for a base hit. So in the first game, Delino DeShields drew the collar, went 0 for 4, and he came back last night with a single and a double and leads off with a base hit tonight. Take a look at the Dodgers with the leather. Gonzalez and Kendrick on the right side, Seager and Turner on the left, and then Hernandez, Thompson, and Puig in the outfield. Ellis behind the plate, handling Scott Kazmir. Scott Kazmir is an even 6-footer, about 175 pounds, and waiting now for the veteran Prado to get in the box. Martin has been a captain in Atlanta and the same now with Miami. Kazmir at the belt, and he's got and almost got Dee Gordon, who started a lean and just did get back. The Kazmir is a left-hander, has a good move, and almost picked off Dee Gordon. Gordon, by the way, in looking at what he has done so far this year, he has stolen 6 out of 8. So Gordon, a leadoff single. Kazmir toes the rubber, and Prado waits at the plate. Kazmir at the belt, just staring at Gordon, and he's staring back, and so there's a throw to first. So this is always the fine battle within the war. A veteran left-hander and a very, very good base stealer. Gordon inching away, draws a throw. This time it was a better throw, and he has to go back head first. So Gordon is the offensive weapon to get the game started, and that's what he's doing right now. Kazmir set, staring, now to the plate, and gets it on the outside corner for a strike to Prado. Martin Prado arrived to Miami last year, and that's when they had the great September. He has now hit safely in 13 of 18, and he's batting .333. An all-around solid ball player. Strike 1 pitch on the way to Martin. Kazmir to the plate, and the fastball, same spot, outside corner for a strike, and the count 0-2. Prado missed the first game of the series, actually was on paternity leave. His wife delivered a beautiful baby girl. 0-2 the count. Kazmir again, a look over at Gordon. And another throw. Adrian Gonzalez is not holding the bag. He's off the bag. So D. Gordon can take about as big a lead easily as Gonzalez takes. And D now gets another stride in front of the first baseman. Here comes Kazmir. Fastball grounded by the first baseman. I don't know if that ball, I guess Gordon just did get away from it. It almost hit Gordon, and there was almost a collision with Adrian Gonzalez. So Martin Prado follows Gordon's base hit with a base hit to right field. And you could see jumping in the air as Gordon, as Gonzalez was diving at the ball. So just like that, 2 on, nobody out, and look out here, and that means Christian Yelich. 2 on, nobody out. Christian Yelich against left-handers is batting .700, and he's hitting .388. Kazmir set, looks at the runners, left-hander ready, and then comes off the rubber. 2 on, nobody out, and the big boys coming up. Yelich and Stanton and Osuna. Kazmir has a lot of trouble with base runners, and of course now he's having trouble with hitters as Stanton waits. And the first pitch to Yelich. Kazmir ready, delivers, drops a curve low. 1 ball and no strikes. Since 2011, Kazmir has given up 36 stolen bases, and only 4 have been caught. And of course he has his back turned really to D. Gordon, so Seager trying to ride him back to the bag. The 1-0 pitch on the way, in for a strike, and the count 1-1 to Christian Yelich, the boy from Thousand Oaks, who has that streak of 10 straight on the road where he's had at least 1 base hit. So hitting .388, and he is without a doubt one of the top hitters now in the league. The 1-1 pitch on the way is on the inside, missing the corner. Good fastball at 92. 2-1 the count. Scott Kazmir, 32 years old in June, born in Houston, Texas. Scott ready, another check of the runners. 2-1 pitch, fastball away, and he's now fallen behind. 3 balls and 1 strike. Kazmir was originally signed by the Mets about 14 years ago. So he's had a lot of time pitching, and he's been very successful in the big leagues over the years. 3-1 pitch to Yelich is swung on, fly ball to right. Puig is there, the runner's tag. There goes Gordon to third and beats the throw, and boy, what a great throw it was by Yasiel Puig. So only a runner like Gordon would dare try to run on Puig, and he just didn't make it. I mean, Yasiel, a one-hopper right at Turner. Gordon holding onto the bag with his right hand. So 1 out, runners holding at first and second, and now what do you do with this man? Yep, first and third, and Stanton checking in. In the last 3 games, Stanton is 6 for 12, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. And before those games, he was hitting .147. Kazmir delivers, fastball inside corner for a strike. If you've been watching the games, you realize that Stanton, who was terribly beaned 2 years ago, wears a mask when a right-hand pitcher is pitching. No mask with a left-hander. Takes inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Stanton had a home run and a double in the first game, and then last night a big 3-run home run against Kershaw. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. Kazmir at the belt, checks the runners. Here he comes, swung on, broken bat, base hit into left field. So he is so strong at 6'5" and about 250 that Stanton shatters the bat and still muscles one into left field. So that gives him another base hit and yet another run batted in. So immediately Miami out in front. 3 hits against Kazmir. Runners at first and second, still 1 out, and Marcell Osuna coming up. So Gordon brings in the run, and immediately Miami on the boards. Gordon daring to go to third on that fly ball to Puig, and it was paid off. 1 run, 3 hits for Miami. Marcell Ozuna hit the ball hard last night. Didn't have much to show for it, but he did have a triple in the 2nd inning. That was when he hit the ball over Crawford's head. Carl went to the wall, leaped up, and couldn't get it. After that, he lined out to third, fly deep to center. Ozuna, right-hand batter, after a pitch that doesn't come up, and it's no balls and 1 strike. By the way, with Stanton getting that broken bat single, give you an idea of the damage he has done here at Dodger Stadium. Here's the strike 1 pitch coming up. Ozuna ready and delivers low, and the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Stanton's hitting .313 here with 8 home runs, 21 runs batted in 17 career games. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Kazmir ready, checks the runners again. Now to the plate, low at his feet, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. All we know is that Scott has had trouble with his left thumb, but he's out there battling. For Dave Roberts, he has a great deal of confidence in the veteran. The 2-1 pitch coming up. Kazmir delivers, and it's swung on, ground ball into left field, base hit. They are going to run the runner from third, and he's going to be safe at home plate. For a while there, we thought Lenny Harris was going to hold him, and then all of a sudden, almost belatedly, he sent him in, and Prado just did score. So here you go again. You can see Harris holding, then swinging, and here comes Prado, and with a hand, he's able to get it on the plate. So just like that, 2-0 in favor of Miami. And Kazmir has now given up 4 hits with 1 out in the 1st inning. So the Dodgers down. No protest on that close play. You could see the hand come across by Ozuna. So 1st and 2nd, 1 out, 2 runs in, and the catcher JT Realmuto up at the plate. The Kazmir being pushed around, the left-hander delivers, and that's fouled away upstairs. 0-1 the count. Kazmir won his 1st game when he started as a Dodger, but the team has lost the next 3 in a row, twice to the Giants and Colorado. So Scotty trying to get himself out of a jam. 1 out, 4 hits, 2-0 in favor of Miami. Kazmir delivers, change up, and it's lifted into shallow right. Puig moving over, makes the catch. The runners have nowhere to go. So Realmuto, a fly ball to shallow right. Good pitch by Kazmir. And now the batter is Chris Johnson playing first base. Johnson started last night and struck out 3 times. They finally took him out for a pinch hitter. Hitting just .211. Johnson as a pinch hitter in the 1st game struck out. So he's having a tough time, hitting .211, 4 for 19. 2 on, 2 out, 2-0 Miami. And fastball high, 1 ball and no strikes. You have to go back a couple of years, 2013, the last time that Kazmir faced Miami. He was with Cleveland at the time. Scott looking back at the runners. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way, pulled foul outside of third and down the line. So in the inning, D. Gordon opened up with a base hit. Prado then singled him to second. Yelich a fly ball, no advancement. Stanton a broken back single to left, scoring Gordon. Ozuna a single to left to score Prado. So Stanton out there along with Ozuna, and Johnson the 7th man to come to the plate. The next pitch is low, smothered, squirts away, but picking it up without a play. A.J. Yelich. 2 balls and 1 strike. We're just starting, but for Kazmir, it's been a really struggling 1st inning. 24 pitches, and he's behind in the count 2-1. Adeiny Echevarria waiting on deck. Kazmir set at the belt, looks back at second. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way. Fastball foul back to the screen. Fastball at 92. So Johnson trying to make contact, and I'm sure he feels every time I come to the plate I've got 2 strikes. Chris in his career has hit .272 against the Dodgers, but you would not know that during this series. So here's the 2-2 pitch taken in the dirt. Kazmir bounced that 2 feet in front of the plate, and the count 3-2. So the deuces were wild. Now it's 3-2 with 2 out, 2 on, and 2 runs in. Nice block by A.J. Ellis. Otherwise there'd be advancement. So Kazmir, after 26 pitches, struggling to get out of the inning. 3-2 the count to Johnson. Left-hander ready, runners going, and it's a bad ball, chased and missed. So for Chris Johnson, he is having a brutal series as he strikes out yet again. However, 2 runs go on the board for the Marlins, and they lead the Dodgers 2-0. Me a somewhat shocked Scott Kazmir, although as we said, he's had that bothersome left thumb and decided to go out there anyway. Whether that had an effect on it or not, all we know is the score on the board. Here come the Dodgers now, and that means Kike Hernandez leading off in left field, Yasiel Puig in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Justin Turner at third base hitting cleanup, Corey Seager the shortstop, Howie Kendrick at second, A.J. Ellis behind the plate, Trace Thompson in center, and the pitcher Scott Kazmir. So the Dodgers with 3 left-hand hitters in the lineup against a young left-hander named Justin Nicolino. He's from Orlando, Florida, and that's in for a strike. And it's important to note that he is from Orlando because that's where the Braves were training and playing exhibition games. The next pitch is strike, and the count 0-2. And he was watching one of the top pitchers of the time, left-hander Tommy Glavine, and he was mesmerized by Glavine. Strike 2 pitch, fastball low, 1-2 the count. Nicolino has a great changeup, but of course, if you have a great changeup, you have to establish it by getting a good fastball. 1-2 pitch on the way is down and away, and the count 2-2. So Nicolino, very much of promise, and when Cosard had his problems, Nicolino came up. The 2-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed, and that was the changeup, and Hernandez way out in front of it. So with 1 away, we can take a look at Nicolino's teammates, Chris Johnson and D. Gordon, Adeiny Echevarria at short, Martin Prado at third, with Yelich, Osuna, and Stanton in the outfield. So 1 away, and here's Yasiel Puig. And he takes the first pitch inside, ball one. Justin Nicolino facing the Dodger right fielder. 1 for 8 in the series. That was a home run, hitting .276. Swings, jammed, fouls it back. That's that thing. You see that great changeup. You want to be ready for it, and you're late on a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Nicolino is good size. He is 6'3", 195 pounds. Comes back 1-1, and that's a line drive backhanded by Echevarria. So that good-looking shortstop takes a base hit away from Puig, and with 2 down, the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. So that was hit right on the button, and Echevarria went up to snare it. 2 down in the first, and here's Adrian. So Puig disappointed, going back, and Adrian checks in. Adrian batting a solid .333. 3 home runs, 15 runs batted in. And the first pitch taken at the knees for a strike. Fastball, 2-seamer. Nicolino was originally signed by the Blue Jays. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and that's high. He went to University High School in Orlando, accepted a scholarship to go to the University of Virginia, but signed with the Blue Jays instead for a good solid amount. The 1-1 pitch, fastball grounded just foul outside of third. Pitch was down. Adrian a little late, almost had himself an extra base hit. Nicolino 2 years ago was the Marlins minor league pitcher of the year. Meanwhile, youngsters taking in the game, and there's a ground ball up the middle, but Echevarria behind the bag will make the play. So the Dodgers go 1-2-3. Good play by Echevarria to take a base hit away from Puig, and at the end of an inning, 2-0 Miami. Time here in Los Angeles. Miami trying to set the sun right on top of the Dodgers, leading 2-0. And as we move to that second inning, Echevarria will start it off. Scott Kazmaier giving up 4 hits in the first inning, so rudely treated by the guests. And now Adeiny Echevarria checking in. I think most people say that Andrelton Simmons is the best shortstop in the league. But when you talk to the Marlins, you talk to Mattingly, they talk about this kid. Change up very high. Ball 1, 1-0. Echevarria, 5'11", 185. He's from Cuba, so he sent a message to Puig when he speared that line drive. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's in for a high strike up around the letters. 5'11", 185, and Puig, unfortunately for him, hit a bullet, and Echevarria went up and got it. changeup foul back. So he dropped down to Kazmaier to 76 miles an hour. Echevarria a couple of years ago set a National League record for RBIs by a Cuban. He had 7 RBIs. He tripled in 3 and hit a grand slam. 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball jammed him and he fouls it into the Miami dugout. So Scotty standing back of the rubber for the moment. Now up on top, pitching from the third base side of the rubber. And the left-hander ready with the 1-2 pitch, swung on, fouled away again. That time 92-mile-an-hour fastball. So Echevarria seeing just about everything in the store. So if you talk about strength up the middle, as Scott toes that third base side, looks down the barrel to get a sign. The 1-2 pitch on the way is hit in the air. On his horse is Kike Hernandez to make the catch. 1 away. When you talk about the strength of a ball club, you go up the middle. And with Echevarria playing short and Gordon at second, they have a solid double play combination. By the way, this Sunday, the Dodgers and Padres and the first 15,000 kids receive a replica Corey Seager jersey presented by Hi-Chew. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. So 1 away on that fly ball to left center. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Nicolino looks at a strike and the count 1-1. Kazmaier looks in, getting a sign. Scott turns, and his 1-1 pitch to the left-hand hitting pitcher is swung on and missed, and the count 1-2. 2-0 in favor of Miami, trying to beat the Dodgers 3 straight, trying to win a series here for the first time since 2010. You know, if you go back to June 26th a year ago, Nicolino came up, tried to bunt, and couldn't do it against Brett Anderson. So the next day in batting practice, they presented him with the monstrous bat of all time. Brett Butler was the pitcher, and good-natured Nicolino tried to bunt and still couldn't do it with that huge bat. And with tonight's bat, he swings and strikes out. He's a good-natured kid, apparently. They like him, even to go to the trouble of giving him that huge bat. In fact, when he pitched his 7-inning shutout against Cincinnati to win the game, when he came into the clubhouse, everything that was loose, they poured on him. That means not just water and shaving cream, ketchup, mustard, anything that they could find in the locker room, they covered him with it. So when they do things like that, you know they like you. And the strike 1 pitch to Gordon is in there, so suddenly he's in a hole. 0-2. D trying to get up over 280, last year's batting champ. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Swings, fouls it away into the crowd off to the left. No balls and 2 strikes to D. Gordon. You know, he's a wonderful kid. We got to know him a little bit with the Dodgers. And in a game recently in Miami, Osuna hit a foul ball that struck a lady in the grandstand. Strike 2 pitch fouled away. It was Gordon who went over to see if the lady was okay, then went back, and then 2 innings later he still went back over to the lady to make sure she was okay. And when they asked him why, he said, "Oh, she kind of reminded me of my grandmother." The pitch is fouled back again. So Gordon hanging in there against a tough left-hander. Just keeps hacking away, fouling him off, and the count 0-2. Gordon has struck out 16 times this year. Strike 2 pitch, a big change over his head. That change was 64 miles an hour, but it was more like a slip. So Kazmaier goes out on the grass, decides to think that over before going back to work. 2 runs, 4 hits for Miami, nothing across for the Dodgers. Gordon waits. Kazmaier ready. 1-2 pitch is hit right back. A soft line drive, gloved by Kazmaier, and that's the inning. So the Marlins go 1-2-3 as Gordon, a soft line drive back to the pitcher. But 4 hits and 2 runs in the first inning, and Miami leads 2-0. Ellis talking to Rick Honeycutt, probably about what's going on with Scott Kazmir. Meanwhile, in the first inning, Miami scored twice, lead 2-0. Dodgers now coming up with Turner, Seager, and Kendrick in that order. Justin Nicolino ready to go to work against Turner. Turner checking in, hitting .250, 2 for 7 in the series. Nicolino ready and delivers, and he's low and inside, ball 1. 1-0 the count to Justin Turner. Turner, of course, means a great deal for the Dodgers. When he's quiet, they're pretty quiet offensively. The 1-0 pitch, and that's high. So 2 balls and no strikes. Nicolino has a lot of pitches, but there have been several games in the big leagues where he's gone through the game with only fastball and a changeup. 2-0 fastball hit in the air to right field. Racing to his left is Stanton, and he'll make the catch directly in front of the Miami bullpen. That's the old story. I remember a right fielder here going after a long fly ball, crashed into the fence, split his eyebrow and bled, but held the ball. And after the game, they said to him, well, since you were going back in front of your own bullpen, did they help you? And he said, yes, the last thing I heard was lots of room. Well, Stanton didn't need much help, and we have 1 away here in the bottom of the second inning. Corey Seager hitting .247, but he's awakened in the last 5 games and promptly bangs one up the middle for a base hit. So a 1-out single to center by Corey Seager. And the Dodgers now have Howie Kendrick. Howie Kendrick, an acknowledged fine hitter, but not playing every day. This is a tough enough game, but if you don't play every day, it's brutal. So he's hitting only .156. In his career, he's done well against Miami, 11 for 14. Seager at first, fastball low and inside, ball 1. 1-0 to Howie Kendrick. Howie, very valuable to the Dodgers. He can give you a good job at second base, of course, but he can also play left field and third base. Dave Roberts has used him wisely, and he has helped the club a great deal. The 1-0 pitch bounced in the dirt, a scrambling stop by Real Muto, and the count 2 balls and no strikes. Nicolino, when he had that great start to beat the Reds, 7 innings, shutout ball, but he only struck out 2. It was the longest outing by a Marlins pitcher in a debut since Brad Penny back in 2000. 2-0 pitch on the way. Fastball, big chopper to third, fair ball. Prado plays it to first in time for the out. Third base umpire Brian Knight right on the line to make the call.
Number 17, AT
High chopper
Ellis.
backhanded by Martin, and in foul ground he made the play. So Seager moves to second. Kendrick taps out third to first, and the batter now is A.J. Ellis. So Ellis coming up, hitting .235. Last couple of games, 4 for 8, 3 RBIs, and a home run. Nicolino ready, and the left-hander's first pitch looked like a little slow breaking ball, but it stayed off the plate. 1 ball and no strikes. The book on him, well, fastball, curveball, that's what we just saw, a cutter, and a changeup. 1 ball and no strikes. Nicolino ready, comes back, fastball in for a strike. 1-1. He is not going to hit the big numbers. You're not going to see him throw 95 or anything like that. 90, 91. But if he gets that in control, Mattingly and Wallach are happy to know that he can do it with that fastball and changeup. Nicolino ready and comes back and misses just inside with a fastball, and the count 2-1. Tomorrow night, the concluding game of the series, And the talk of the league, Kenta Maeda will be on the mound against Jose Fernandez. Here's the 2-1 pitch coming up. Nicolino at the belt, looks back at second. Fastball, little nubber to the right of the mound. Nicolino underhands it to first, and that's that. So no runs, base hit by Seaver and nothing else. And at the end of 2, Nicolino's talking to himself, a little annoyed, but Miami's leading 2-0. And the Marlins leading 2-0. They'll have Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, and they'll have Giancarlo Stanton, who gets everybody's attention. Meanwhile, the fans are working out, running up and down the stairs, getting into the ballpark, and they're getting in at a good time. Scott Kazmir had a tough going, allowing 4 singles in the first inning for 2 runs. Dodgers, meanwhile, have just 1 hit in their 2 innings. And Martin Prado will start it off. Martin, whose wife delivered a baby girl the other day, back to a ball club and gives them a lift always. In fact, when he came over to Miami last year, the club changed the pitch in for a strike. He arrived after August 31st, and from that time on, the Marlins were 19-12. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Martin pops it up on the right side. Kendrick slanting across and makes the catch for the out. The Kendrick, with a big grin on his face, goes back to take the pop fly away. And we have 1 down in the 3rd. And the batter, Christian Yelich. Yelich flied to right in the first inning, but he was 7 for 10 against left-handers this year. Last night, Yelich had 3 singles to go 3 for 5, and he's batting .382. Christian takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Christian from Thousand Oaks, so he's home for a while. Check swing on the next pitch. No swing, says Brian Knight. Christian, day in and day out, growing and becoming a remarkable young hitter. The next pitch taken for a strike, and he's in a hole now, 1-2. Since last May, Yelich has hit a solid .336. May 22nd last year, he was hitting .178, and the next day he took off. The 1-2 pitch, curveball low, and the count 2-2. So he's been the top hitter among some very good players. Yelich is tops, followed by Harper, Xavier Bogaerts, Ben Revere, Jose Altuve. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on, grounded foul outside of third and down the line. So Christian backs out for the moment. He's 6'4", 195, and he's only 25. He'll be 25, and he is hit by the pitch. So Yelich hit on the high part of the back. He'll be 25 in December. So the next hitter coming up knows all about it. Yelich got it right on the back of the right shoulder. You know how you would shrug your shoulders when the pitch is inside. Otherwise, it would have hit him in the face. And of course, here's a man who could write a book about that. For Stanton, career against the Western Division and especially the Dodgers, outstanding. 56 home runs, 151 RBIs, and he's just wearing out the Dodgers anyway. So Yelich takes his lead at first. Stanton waits at the plate. Kazmir throws to first. It was September 11th, 2014, when Stanton was hit in the face. Hits one foul upstairs, and the count 0-1. Giancarlo Stanton has a lot of weight on his shoulders for one reason. He signed an unbelievable contract with Miami. It's a lifetime contract worth $325 million. Strike one pitch on the way, very high, 1-1. So naturally, with all that money due, they expect him to hit a home run every at bat. Well, he can't do that. But as far as the Dodgers are concerned, they know he's homered in 3 straight games. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2-0 Miami. Kazmir ready to the plate. Change up, high and away. Ball 2, 2-1. That change up looks like a balloon, and someone had cut the string. Stanton, meanwhile, just made him. Hit one 478. He hit one let's see. That's the longest ball. Went out of the ballpark. Hit the pavilion roof and kicked out into the night. 2-1 pitch on the way. Change up, and he chased it way out of the zone. 2-2. Kazmir knows he's fooling with dynamite, so being very careful. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way with the left side loaded up. Yelich draws a throw even though he had a very short lead. Stanton hit a home run here, 450 some odd feet against Kershaw, and then he hit that bomb on top of the roof and out. 2-2. Kazmir looks over at Yelich, high kick into the plate with a high fastball, so he goes 3-2. So Kazmir has allowed 2 runs, 4 hits, hit a batter, and he goes all the way with Stanton. When we first saw Stanton his first year in the big leagues, he was Mike Stanton. His father's name is Mike. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Yelich holds, and it's low and inside. A change up for ball 4. So with 1 out, Robert sees his left-hander hit a batter and then missed with a change. And that brings up Marcell Ozuna, who singled to left field in the first inning to drive in a run. Two runs, 4 hits for the Marlins. They have first and second, 1 away. Kazmir set at the belt, looks back at Yelich. Now comes to the plate, and Ozuna hits a fly ball to left field. Kike is right there. The runners really don't tag. So a lazy fly ball to left, 2 down. Runners at first and second, and the catcher, Realmuto, coming up. Realmuto flied to right field in the first inning. He had a base hit last night in that wild 6th inning, 8th inning actually. Kershaw had long gone. Realmuto in the first game had 2 hits, and he was also robbed of a hit by Justin Turner. So the catcher with 3 hits in the series, batting .267. Kazmir ready, over the top fastball, and that's fouled away. So that's about as hard as Scotty throws. and he came right over the top, getting his back into that pitch, and he hit 92. He's also made 61 pitches, and we're only in the third inning. Kazmir, another look at the runners, and the strike one pitch coming up. Scotty delivers, breaking ball low and inside, maybe a little cutter. Well, Kazmir gave up 4 hits in the first inning. He has hit a batter and walked one here in the third, and trying to get out of it unscathed. The 1-1 pitch to Real Muto. Fastball down and away. 2-1 to count. Maeda and Fernandez tomorrow night, concluding game of the series. Maeda taking in the action. I'm sure he was studying Chen's work the other night. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way. And that's going to be on the inside corner for a strike, and the count 2-2. I'll bet you Maeda would love to have one experience tomorrow night facing, that's right, Ichiro. You bet. Ichiro did appear last night as a pinch hitter, slapped a single to left field. Well, maybe. So deuce is wild again. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and 2 on at first and second. Yelich hit by a pitch, and Stanton who walked. Kazmir scraping at the dirt, now plants the left foot, and the left-hander ready to go to work. Looks back at Yelich at second. High kick out of the plate, and it's strike 3 call. Fastball at the knees, and down goes Real Muto. So no runs, no hits, 2 left, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 2-0 Miami. Inning. Miami leading the Dodgers 2-0. Dodgers will have Trace Thompson, then Scott Kazmir, and Kike Hernandez. Trace Thompson hit a home run Monday night, his first as a Dodger. His last home run was September against New York last year. So Thompson hitting .268, doing very well against left-hand pitching, .329 in his career. So he's got a left-hander tonight, and Nicolino ready, delivers, gets it in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Thompson, a very graceful center fielder, and the strike one pitch on the way. Little change off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. So far, that's pretty much the story, and it's what we expected from Nicolino. Fastballs and changes. Now he comes back 1-1, and it's swung on and missed by Thompson. 1-2. That pitch seemed to sink. Thompson's bat on the level directly above it as it went down. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fastball is a little low, sinking. So that's what he'll do. He'll throw it straight. Just take a little off it. Nicolino at 6'3", 195. And his 2-2 pitch on the way. Off speed, bang to center. Osuna comes up to nail it. So Nicolino got away with that one. 1 down. And Scott Kazmir coming up.
Number 29, Scott Kazmir.
Kazmir 0 for 6, batting .094 in his career. So after 12 years, you can figure out he's not been much of a hitter, and takes inside, ball 1. For Miami, they pull up the corners. Johnson is at the edge. Prado is at the edge over at third. The outfield very shallow is Yelich in left field. Slow curveball drops in for a strike, and the count 1-1. Justin Nicolino, the pride of Orlando, called up from New Orleans, or Norlands as they say down there. 1-1 pitch, a drag bunt. He missed it. So the scouts have long known that Kazmir tries to bunt, and that's why the Marlins, through their scouting report, had the corners up, and sure enough, he tried to drag one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Nicolino comes back, missing outside with a fastball, and the count 2-2. The outfield is somewhat different. Yelich very shallow in left. Osuna very shallow in center. And Stanton gives him all of right field. He shows bunt, gets it down, fielded by Nicolino, who throws him out. So Kazmir trying to do something and bunt his way aboard. Couldn't do it.
Number 14, Kike Hernandez.
2 out, and Kike Hernandez coming up. For the second time now in 3 innings, Nicolino has retired 4 in a row. He had 4 in a row in Seager's single. Now he has 4 in a row facing Kike Hernandez. Kike has really been dynamite against left-hand pitching. He takes a strike, the changeup, 0-1. Since Kike came to the Dodgers, he's hitting .436 against left-hand pitching. That's a strike. So Kike in a hole now. No balls and 2 strikes. Yeah, .436. 2-0 Miami, bottom of the third. Fastball overthrown, almost in the dirt. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Nicolino has now made 37 pitches. Kazmir has struggled. He's made 65 in 3 innings. 1-2 pitch on the way. Nicolino works it down and away, and the count 2-2. Dodgers have 1 hit, the single by Seager, with 1 out back in the 2nd inning. 2 no's and a yes, and Nicolino delivers low and inside with a fastball, ball 3. 3-2. Nicolino yet to walk a batter. And the pitch to Kike. Taken very high, ball 4. So the Dodgers get a base runner with 2 out. And the batter will be Yasiel Puig.
For 66, Yasiel Puig.
Puig in the 1st inning hit a BB heading towards left center. And Echevarria leaped in the air, and one Cuban taking a base hit from the other. Echevarria right out on the rim at short. And Yasiel checks in. 2 down, 3rd inning, 2-0 in favor of the Marlins. Here comes Nicolino's pitch inside at the knuckles with a fastball. 1 ball and no strikes. Kike standing on the bag at first, listening to Coach George Lombard for the moment. Now takes a short lead. 1-0 pitch. Fastball inside, almost hit Puig. He just did get out of the way of it. So 2-0 the count. It's 2-0 in favor of Miami. Trying to make it 3 in a row against the Dodgers and 4 straight against the league. For one reason or another, they've been playing much better ball on the road than at home. Here's the 2-0 pitch with the left side loaded up, and it's a fastball inside. So what do you do if you're Dave Roberts? Do you let Puig swing 3-0? Well, we'll see in a moment. Puig, of course, has done a lot of damage on the first pitch. Now let's see what he does 3-0. 2 down, bottom of the third, 2-0 Miami. Nicolino's pitch in at the knees for a strike, and the count 3-1. All right, Yasiel back up. Outfield very deep. Infield loading up on the left side. Nicolino ready. Left-handed delivers. Fastball popped up. And it's the first baseman, Chris Johnson, all alone to make the catch. So for the Dodgers, no runs, no hits, a walk, and a man left. And at the end of 3, it's 2-0 Miami. At LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. 2 gentlemen from Japan exchanging niceties. Ichiro Suzuki on the left, coming up 40 years old, and Kenta Maeda will be on the mound tomorrow night. Jose Fernandez will be on the mound going up against Maeda. Maeda remarkable with an earned run average of 1/3 of a run. And we're hoping somewhere along the line, as Fernandez looks on, that maybe Ichiro will get in the game to pinch hit. Maeda is from Osaka. And first pitch whacked to right. Puig coming up and makes the catch. So 1 away as Chris Johnson finally connects, but hits it right at the right fielder. Dani Echeverria coming up. We're just looking up. Suzuki is from Kasuge or Kusugai in Japan. So we have 1 out. Echeverria struggling with the bat, a magician with the glove, and a strike. For Casimir, a break to have somebody swing at the first pitch and make an out. 1 ball and 1 strike. Nicolino made 21 pitches in the 3rd inning, so he's made 44 pitches in his 3 innings. Changeup floats in there for a strike. Scott had a rough first inning when he gave up 4 singles and 2 runs. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way, fouled off. The Marlins are in 4th place in the East, 6 games behind Washington. Dodgers began the night a game and a half in front of Arizona and the Giants, but the Giants won this afternoon in a slugfest with the Padres. The final score in that game, Giants 13, Padres 9. The Giants had 16 base hits against, amongst others, Andrew Cashner. 1-2. Fastball hit wide at first. Gonzalez will do it all by himself. So we have 2 down here in the 4th inning. And the batter will be the pitcher, Justin Nicolino.
Number 20, Justin Nicolino.
Nicolino struck out in the 2nd inning. Kazmir has struck out 3, walked 1, hit a batter, given up 4 hits, 2 runs. Check swing on a fastball for a strike. 0-1. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 4th, Gonzalez, Turner, and Seager. 1-1. Kazmir really raises that right leg and gets it up there pretty high, even with a runner aboard. Up she goes. Slap foul. 1-2. Over the years, it seems the pitcher's delivery has been cut down. In the old days, you would take those 2 arms and swing them behind your back, a huge wind-up in delivery. Breaking ball miss. He got trouble, almost tripped. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And then it seemed more and more pitchers just got rid of the wind-up. They would just kind of come to the belt, turn the body, and make the pitch. 2-2. Change with a little bit of a bend to it. That'll do it for Nicolino. Nice inning for Kazmir. He's retired now 5 in a row. But at the end of 3.5 innings, it's still 2-0 Miami. The games you want at the best price with an 11-game pick'em plan. Guarantee your seats with the Giants, Angels, Cubs, and Red Sox games, or great giveaways like the bobblehead and t-shirt nights. So be sure to visit Dodgers.com/mini-plans. Dodgers coming up, bottom of the 4th inning. Miami leading 2-0. Gonzalez, Turner, and Seager to start it off. Yes, LA loves October, so you're in April striving to get there. Gonzalez grounded to short, 0 for 1. Fastball punched foul outside of third, 0-1. Thinking of those big deliveries, which have just about disappeared. Nicolino does not raise that leg very much, bends it at the knee, but it's not a big move. Boy, you go back to, well, if you go way back into the 30s, the Dodger had a pitcher named Van Lingle Mungo. And I mean, his foot went to the sky when he was delivering with the bases empty. Juan Marichal. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Marichal not only raised the leg high, but you never knew which way he was coming to the plate. Overhand, 3/4, sidearm, and always for a strike. But boy, that foot could go high. And the Dodgers, talking about a big man rocking on the rubber, Don Newcomb. Newcomb would start to swing those arms back, and that great big body, and you would think, look out, he's going to do something monstrous. Well, what he would do is throw the baseball. I think it was Detroit in the All-Star game. They had never seen him pitch, and Nuke came in, and they were groaning in the stands watching him warm up. But slowly and surely, that big delivery disappearing now. And it's paid off, I guess, in strikes control. 2-2, ball 3. In the minor leagues, Nicolino was averaging about maybe a walk a game. They talk about his command. Well, he's 3-2, and he's got Turner on deck. 2-0 Marlins. Way off the plate. So Gonzalez draws a walk. Nobody out here in the 4th. That's the second walk given up for Nicolino, and making note of it, Nieves, the pitching coach for Miami. Now Justin has to contend with Turner, who flied to right field in the 2nd inning. Now, the way Nicolino lifted that leg, he doesn't, or at least we haven't seen, that slide step where you don't lift that knee up. You want to take your foot and keep it very close to the ground. It cuts the time of delivery. See what he does this time. It comes up. And a strike. So suddenly Turner in the hole, no balls and 2 strikes. Scott Kazmir has a very high kick, and he's paid the price, giving up a lot of stolen bases in his career. 0-2. Sinker down, 1-2. If you weren't with us in the 1st inning, Gordon singled to right, Prado singled to right, Yelich flied to right, Stanton broke his bat, single to left to score Gordon. And then Osuna single to left to score Prado, and that's it. 2-0 Miami. And a fly ball starting back and then moving to his left is Yelich. 1 out in the 4th, and Corey Seager coming up.
Number 5, Corey Seager.
For the Dodgers now, they've had 3 fly balls and a pop fly on the infield. Seager, however, singled in the 2nd inning. So Gonzalez at first, and they are not holding him on. Johnson is directly behind him. Now Johnson creeps backwards, and Seager takes a slow curveball in for a strike. We haven't seen much of that pitch so far. Fastball on the hands, foul ball. Seager got that on the foot. Got him right on the shin above the foot, and down he goes in obvious pain. Corey not quite ready to continue, so Real Muto goes out to talk to Nicolino. Seager almost ready to get back up to the plate. Todd Tishner, the plate umpire, waiting. And Corey just about ready. And he's able to smile and get a return smile from Real Muto. No balls and 2 strikes to Corey. Gonzalez at first with a walk. Miami leads 2-0, and we're in the bottom of the 4th. High fly ball to center, going back as Osuna to the track makes the catch. So Seager a long out, and the batter will be Howie Kendrick.
Number 47, Howie Kendrick.
Howie Kendrick grounded to third in the 2nd inning. So Nicolino has held the Dodgers to 1 hit so far, and that was Seager's single. Howie batting .152. Starts him fastball for a strike. That's the other thing that Nicolino does most of the time. Gets out in front. One ball and 1 strike. Big bouncer speared at first by Johnson. Takes a hit away from Kendrick and shuts down the Dodgers in the 4th inning. No runs, no hits, a walk, and a man left. And at the end of 4, it's 2-0 in favor of Miami. And that's worth a second look. Is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Get huge cash back on a new Camry or a Corolla at Toyota's Axe the Tax sales event. Oh, how they could play this game. Roy Campanella on the left, Don Newcomb in the middle, and Jackie Robinson on the right. Wow. Well, you wouldn't know, Sunshine, but that's okay. You're aptly dressed, warm and comfortable. Look like your older sister is there with you. Yeah, hooray, we're having a good time. As long as I have my... That's ball one. D. Gordon has singled and out on a ball looped to Kazmir. Breaking ball strike. Boy, how D has developed. The batting champion hit .333 and a Gold Glove last year. Change hit up the middle, backhanded, stumbling, but making the play is Kendrick. So one away. Nice play by Howie.
Third baseman Martin Prado.
Martin Prado coming up. A lot of outs ever since Osuna singled in the first inning. Pitch now has come down, and he's just getting everybody. He did hit a batter and walk one, but nothing developed. So Scotty is back on the beam now, and here's Prado. Ball one to Martin. Martin Prado kind of fell in love with a little child in Philadelphia. Not totally mentally equipped like the rest of us. And in chatting with the little boy suddenly idolizing Martin, and Martin got carried away and said, when the game starts, I'm going to hit a home run for it, which is a very tough thing to do. Darned if he didn't do it as he slaps one into right field for a base hit. So twice in his career, Martin Prado has promised a child that he would hit a home run for that child, and darn if he hasn't done it twice. So with one out, Prado breaks the string of outs with a single to right, and now you get into the deep water with the Fish with Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton. Yelich was hit on the right shoulder as he shrugged to get out of a pitch that otherwise would have hit him in the face. And ball one. One out, fifth inning, 2-0 Miami. Yelich checking with Lenny Harris. Lenny, a Dodger for several years. Slow breaking ball for a strike. Lenny Harris in the third base box played for the Dodgers from 1989 through 1993. Good hitter. 1 ball, 1 strike. And that slap foul upstairs. 1-2 the count. Yelich again checking with Harris. Prado at first, held on by Adrian. One and two. Change. Big kick, big blustery delivery, and then the soap bubble. 2-2. Two runs, 5 hits for Miami. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. Single by Sager in the second inning. Change up. Hit down to Kendrick. Bobbles but gets it to Sager. And by bobbling the ball, Kendrick lost the double play. So that's a big bobble because it means Stanton is allowed to come up. The other night, remember on that pop foul, Grandal couldn't make the catch. That gave Stanton an extra swing, and he knew what to do with it. So they lose the double play. It's a force, 4-6. And now let's see about Stanton. Single left, broke his bat, and then walked. Load up the left side. Ball one. It always amazes me when they load up the hitter's strength. I mean, if you're going to load up the left side, you're doing that because he pulls the ball. So you're pitching to his strength. Inside at the knuckles, 2-0. Stanton, who went to Notre Dame High School here over in the Valley. Two and one. 6'5" and about 250. And he works as hard as anybody in the game. Two and two. We mentioned it the other night talking about Stanton and how hard he works. He went over to UCLA, where the track stadium is, put on a 60-pound backpack and ran up and down the stairs. And with all of that, he goes down to one knee, not as a genuflection, but as a strikeout. No runs, a hit, and a man left. And at the end of 4.5 innings, it remained 2-0 in favor of Miami. Miami scored in the first inning twice, and that's been it. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Marlins. Dodgers have 1 hit, a clean single to center by Corey Seager in the second inning. Dodgers also had 1 other base runner, Gonzalez, walk, and another when Kike Hernandez walked, but that's the extent of the offense. As we come to the bottom of the 5th, Ellis, Thompson, and Kazmir in that order. Good fastball, 0-1. AJ hit back to the box in the second inning, 0-1. Crowds in with a fastball, took a little off it. His top's about 92. Little breaking ball, but he misses. 2 balls, 1 strike. Retired 4 in a row, gave up a base hit. Retired 4 in a row, gave up a walk. There's a good breaking ball. Now he's working on 3 in a row, as he is 2-2 to A.J. Ellis. Fastball and a hopper, speared by Echevarria and throws him out. So we have one down in the fifth inning. 4 in a row after the walk. And now here comes Trace Thompson, who flied to center in the third inning. 0 for 1. Tomorrow night, Kenta Maeda going up against Jose Fernandez. That figures to be quite a duel. And we're hoping that in the course of that game, Ichiro will at least pinch hit and have the moment where Maeda is facing Ichiro. He's a marvel. Came off the bench, got a base hit last night. He had over 1,200 hits in Japan, and he has 2,930 some odd right now. 0-2. Foul back. His number, talking about Ichiro, right up to the minute, he has 2,943 hits. Marvelous. Little low. Numero uno. Ichiban. Number 1 in any language. He's been so great. One ball and 2 strikes. Fastball fouled away. Scott Kazmir waiting on deck. Thompson trying to catch up to something, and Joe Blanton now gets up in the Dodger bullpen because Kazmir has made 93 pitches in his 5 innings. Still 1-2. Trace back up. Kazmir wondering about his future in the game. 2-2. Imagine the last time Miami won a series at Dodger Stadium 6 years ago, 2010. If they win tonight or tomorrow, that will be the good series for them. Meanwhile, Nicolino, who has walked 2, falling behind 3-2 and going all the way with Trace Thompson. Of course, he's allowed only 1 hit. Fastball. Fastball change. Once in a while, a little breaking ball. Well, he has walked 2, and Thompson will take anything he can get right now. Big chopper at Echevarria. Gets rid of it in a hurry. And just like that, 2 down in the 5th inning. You know, friends, after the Dodgers face the Padres on the weekend, fans are invited to sit on the field and enjoy Friday night fireworks presented by Denny's. This Friday's show features a musical tribute to Prince. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. So here's Scott. Tried to bunt his way aboard in the 3rd inning. Nicolino tossed to first to get him. One ball and 1 strike. Wasn't that something about Prince? Did you read that? Really shocking. He left an estate of over $300 million and never had a will drawn. Wow. Well, they're really looking bunt now. Prado is way in on the grass. Johnson is way in. Kazmir tries to bunt and strikes out. So that means a walk and then 6 in a row retired. And at the end of 5, it remains 2-0 Miami. In 1981, it was the beginning of Fernando mania. Fernando had 4 shutouts in his first 5 starts. He beat the Giants 5-0. He had 3 hits and a run batted in that game, and his earned run average after 5 games in the big leagues 0.2. And there, Fernando just went on to write the book. Absolutely remarkable performance by the young left-hander. In fact, it will never be forgotten for all of us who had the privilege of watching him pitch. And with that, let's go back to this one. There he is, Fernando Valenzuela, known on the ball club as Freddie. He had a tremendous trick that he could do in the dugout, or actually in the clubhouse. He'd take a small string, make it a lasso, and you could walk by and he could actually flip it and catch you by the heel of the shoe. Meanwhile, a changeup to Osuna in for a strike, and we move to the 6th inning, 2-0 Miami. Osuna has singled, driven in a run, fly to left, takes a strike. 95 pitches now for Scott. Earlier we saw Joe Blanton begin to warm up, but he has stopped. Change up. 1-2 the count. Dave Roberts going with his veteran, 12 years in the big leagues. Down he goes. For Kazmir, he has now struck out 6. And with 1 out, the catcher, Real Muto, who has flied to right and struck out. Chris Johnson on deck. Slow curveball. Strike 1. Trying to win his 100th game in his career, and comes right back with a straight change, and the count 0-2. So you have 2 pitchers, one the veteran, one the kid, and both doing a great job. Light breeze blowing the wrong way from right to left, and a flare into right field that will drop for a hit. Puig over to pick it up. So Real Muto single to right, and that will bring up Chris Johnson.
First baseman Chris Johnson.
We were talking about Chris Johnson having a tough time even hitting the ball during this series. You forget that back in 2013, when Chris played with Atlanta, he came very close to winning the batting title. It was won by Michael Kadaya, who hit .331 for Colorado. Chris hit .321. Now hitting .190. Off the plate, ball one. One out, Real Muto at first. Johnson at the plate. Adeiny Echevarria on deck. Two to nothing in favor of Miami in the first inning. Gordon single, Prado single, Yelich fly to right, Stanton single to drive in a run, Osuna single to drive in the other run, and that's been it. Fouled away. Fastball at 88. Neither pitcher is going to knock down the hitters with 95-mile-an-hour fastballs, but they are both true pitchers. Real Muto at first with one out, 1 ball and 1 strike to Johnson. Change up, hit in the air to center. Thompson went back. Now he has to come up, and it drops in front of him. That's twice in a few nights have we seen him go the wrong way. One time he recovered and made a diving head-first catch. That time he went the wrong way and just couldn't recover. There he goes, and then whoops. Now he's coming back. No chance. So it's a problem for anyone trying to get a jump on a ball, looking into a shirt sleeve crowd. And of course here with all the decks, it's like looking at the so-called wedding cake. So now Kazmir is in a little trouble. Instead of 2 out and a runner at first, 1 out, runners at first and second. In the Dodger bullpen, Adam Libator begins to warm up. Adeiny Echevarria coming up has flied to left and grounded to first. So Kazmir in a little bit of a jam now here in the 6th inning. 2 hits after going through 4, allowing just 1 hit. He gave up 4 hits in the first inning. Didn't give up another hit until the 5th, and now back to back, although that second hit certainly not his fault. 1-0. So Thompson, coming over from the White Sox, had a great reputation as being a fine defensive outfielder. 2-0 the count now. Well, after 12 years in the big leagues, he's been through it all, not just misjudged fly balls. Two and 0. Good fastball sinking, 2-seamer. Amazing how they can make the ball rise, the 4-seamer, and make it sink with 2. (106) pitches now. Here comes number 107. Fastball fouled away. So Echevarria up there struggling anyway, hitting less than 200. Don Mattingly, Tim Wallach, shoulder to shoulder, talking things over. Two and 2. Check swing, and the ball hits the bat, though he's still there. Now the princess has arrived. Her carriage has been stored outside, and she is slowly practicing her steps. A younger one to show her the moves. Interesting time, but not for Kazmir and company. 2 on, 1 out. Fastball fouled away. Now, I was just thinking, I'm going to take you to the ball game, my daughter. Okay, I'll put on my tutu and I'll be right with you. Okay. Two and two. Little foul ball on a changeup. I don't know how Echevarria even hit that ball. 2-2. Take a look. He's looking fastball, and he has to go down, and just did foul it away off to the right. Now let's see, is he going to get an express fastball? Yep. 3-2. Echevarria is not hitting much at all. He has also been pretty good in not striking out. We're talking about 9 strikeouts. So let's see. You have the pitcher coming up next. Do you run the runners? 3-2, 1 out? No. Changeup hit foul. A Danish from Cuba made a big play on a ball hit by Yasiel Puig in the first inning. And you can bet he hasn't forgotten it either. This will be the 10th pitch to Echevarria. Fastball hit down to second, back to short, and the double play. So Echevarria, big man with a glove, but so far not hitting a lick. No runs, 2 hits, 1 left, and again to 5.5, 2-0 Marlins. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Carl's Jr., the $4 real deal, 4 items for just $4 at Carl's Jr. Ah, yes, a picture is worth more than 1,000 words. We were talking about Fernando's exploits way back in 1981. 4 shutouts in his first 5 games here. Fernando mania, people ask me what it was like. And I thought in those days it was almost like a religious vision here. You could see parents bringing their little children to watch him play. And you knew they were saying to the child or the children, you see that young man out there, 20 years old? He's from the back of beyond in Mexico. And look what he's doing. He was indeed such a great inspiration. Meanwhile, here's Kike, struck out and walked, 0 for 1. Full of beans, loves to play. So Nicolino falling behind to some hitters. He has walked 2. He's been averaging in the minor leagues about a walk a game. That's in there. Miami got 2 runs on 4 hits in the first inning, and that's been it. Scott Kazmir, by the way, has made 113 pitches. Fastball hit in the air to right field, running parallel is Stanton. He's there. So Hernandez goes to right for an out. 1 down, and Yasiel Puig coming up. See, do you know a standout high school senior athlete? If you do, then nominate them for a chance to be named a Time Warner Cable Sports Championship Drive Scholar Athlete and receive a $2,500 college scholarship. So go to twcschamp.com now for more information. Puig ground ball to short. Echevarria takes care. So Puig is 0 for 3. All of a sudden now the string is unraveling for Nicolino. He has retired 8 in a row. And he has Adrian Gonzalez coming up. He really had 1 inning where he made over 20 pitches. He made 21 in the 3rd. Gonzalez grounded to short and walked. Adam Libator is up again in the Dodger bullpen, and I would guess this time he'll be coming in. Breaking ball over for a strike. 0-1. Brian Morris begins to warm up. Big right-hander in the bullpen for Miami. Ground ball wide to first. Johnson shoveling to Nicolino. Boy, that's something. That's 9 in a row retired by Nicolino. And at the end of 6, it's still 2-0 Marlins. Enjoy MLB.TV Premium for a new low price. And this year, watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams live in true HD on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. So visit MLB.TV for details. into the game, Adam Liebertor. And what an evening for Scott Kazmir. He went 6 innings. He allowed 2 runs and 4 hits in the first inning. He allowed 1 more hit in the 5th inning. And then obviously tiring in the 6th. He gave up 2 hits but got out of it. So after 113 pitches, Scott comes out losing 2-0, and Liebertor picks up the work. Nicolino, the pitcher for Miami, will start it off. Ball 1. So for Kazmir, a fine outing, but to no avail as far as winning the 100th in his career. Slap to third, wide of third, backhanded by Seager, and the throw is in time. What a wonderful play by Corey Seager. By the way, he is celebrating his 22nd birthday today. And watch this play. Turner can't do it, but it's short hopped on the run, the off balance throw right on the money. So Nicolino grounding to short, 1 away, and the batter will be D. Gordon. Nicolino very close to getting a base hit. Gordon, talking about hits, 1 for 3. And a strike. Showing bunt. They're going to question it. No swing or bunt attempt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Gordon with 2 hits last night. 1 hit tonight. Went 0 for 4 in the first game. Fastball popped in the air. Trace right there. So Gordon trying very, very hard not to hit the ball in the air. His speed is on the ground, and he's frustrated and annoyed at himself. 2 out in the 7th, and Martin Prado checking in. Single to right, popped up, single to right again. 2 for 3. The amazing Mr. Prado hitting .351. And ball 1. Prado has had well over 1,000 hits in his career. Number 1,000 was a home run. And ball 2. Got that 1,000 hit back in 2014. We told you that he's twice hit a home run after saying he would. First time he did it was against a rookie pitcher for Philadelphia. Second time he did it at Chase Field. Ground ball to the hole, and Prado comes up with his 3rd hit. What a wonderful feeling that must have been. Can you imagine Prado, for some reason, and he said, I don't know why I said it, twice, talking to a small child. And in the conversation, out it comes, I'll hit a home run for you. And then he does. Now here's Yelich. Joe Blanton up in the pen for the Dodgers. In the dirt. That was a nice save by Ellis. There's Joe. 2 runs in the first inning for Miami and zeros for each side ever since. Outfield playing Yelich the other way. He's 0 for 2 and hit by a pitch. In there. Two runs, 8 hits for the Marlins. Dodgers have 1 hit, single by Seager back in the second inning. That's it. Fastball, 2-1. Scott Kazmir went 6, had a rough first inning and then really settled down. Made 113 pitches, and now Adam Libator picking up the burden. Man on deck, of course, Giancarlo Stanton. Fouled away. So Yelich has a big burden to extend the inning for Stanton, and boy has he done well. Yelich came into the game hitting .388, and the big man has been in a slump until this series. Home cooking. Infield around the left. They give Yelich all of right field. They don't think he'll pull the ball. Pretty good sign that they're not going to pitch inside to him and let him pull it. Prado at first with 2 out. And ball 3. So with 2 down, they're not going to hold Prado. He'll be going. Adrian well off the bag. Prado goes. Yelich hits a high chopper, charging Seager. Nice scoop throw just in time. So Corey Seager makes 2 fine plays on Nicolino and on Yelich. No runs, 1 hit, and a man left, and it remains 2-0 Miami. The box score is concerned for the Dodgers. A bunch of offers. 1 hit, that single by Corey Seager. Nothing else. Seager singled in the second inning, and since the second, the Dodgers have had 1 man on base, and that was Gonzalez, who walked in the 4th inning. So Justin Nicolino, who pitched so well in his major league debut last year, 7 shutout innings against Cincinnati, now trying to shut the Dodgers down in the 7th inning tonight. Turner, Seager, and Kendrick coming up. Ball 1. Nicolino from Orlando, Florida, and as he said, grew up watching Tommy Glavine in spring training games. Fastball, a base hit into left center. Osuna coming up with it. Turner will hold on. So the leadoff single, that might be a warning for the Miami bench to get somebody up. And it'll bring up Seager, the birthday boy. Brian Mars gets up immediately. Juan Nieves on the phone, but Mars is already getting ready. Now to take a little time, Real Muto goes out to the mound. So here in the 7th inning, he's on thin ice. He's made 90 pitches, and Turner has greeted him with a base hit. Seager single, fly deep to center, 1 for 2. There you go. Happy birthday, Corey Seager, 22 years old. There's an old gag when you talk about a young player. 22, I've got ties that old. But it's true. I really do. 1 ball, no strikes. And slicing a fly ball to left. Yelich lost it in the lights, but in a crouch picked it off. That's another problem out there. Sometimes it's the fans and sometimes it's the lights. And that was definitely in the lights. That's why he dropped down to look up and not straight into the glare. Nice play by young Yelich. 1 down. Howie Kendrick coming up. Grounded to third, grounded to first. Fastball, ball 1. The other night, thinking about Yelich making a good play, he could not make a big play in the Chen game. Committed an error, and that cost Chen the game, even though they won the game 3-2. So they come and they go out there in the outfield. Big chopper back to the box, to second for 1, to first for the double play. So no runs, 1 hit, nobody left, and through 7 he's at it again. Nicolino leading 2-0. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Two good guys. Don Mattingly, Dave Roberts. You would like both of them if you had a chance to spend some time with them. Meanwhile, Justin Nicolino has made 94 pitches, but how about this? He made 8 pitches in the 6th inning and only 6 pitches in the 7th inning. So he's made 94 and he's cruising through 7. Pedro Baez now comes in and he'll start against Stanton. Ball 1. And you can notice that Stanton, now that there's a right-hander out on the mound, is wearing the face mask to protect the left side of his face. It was September the 11th. That's a day that he remembers personally besides the nation. Hit in the face by Mike Fiers from Milwaukee. Those who saw it will never forget it. It was that horrible to look at. Two balls and no strikes. Foul back. Fastball alley. And after looking at Kazmir painting the corners, changing pitches, all of a sudden Baez comes in and right away says hello with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. You realize the mental war that goes on inside the head of Stanton. Ball 3. Ball players never talk about fear. You can't play in the big leagues if you have any fear at all. And yet they are human beings. 3-1. And ball 4. So Stanton gets aboard. Nobody out starting the 8th inning. And now you get Osuna and Realmuto. Stanton's control was so good, it just slipped a little in the 3rd inning. He hit Yelich and walked Stanton. So Stanton has walked twice, struck out and singled, driven in a run. 2-0 as Yelich looks on. And now the batter is Osuna. Fastball at 96. 0-1. Can you imagine the trip from the low minors, poor lighting, and young kids who have no idea where the strike zone is, going through 95 and 96. 0-2. So those who are suddenly conscious of the shadows or the lack of lighting and starting to see those 95s and 96, I think a lot of them give it up. But boy, what they go through to get here. Oh, and 2. And hit to center. Right at Thompson. That ball was stroked. So holding is Stanton with 1 out. And the catcher Realmuto coming up. Osuna's hit the ball hard throughout the series. Not much to show for it. But he certainly hasn't been fooled any of his at-bats. Though he is 1 for 4 tonight. The catcher Realmuto flied to right, struck out, single to right. We're in the 8th inning. 2-0 Miami. And ball 1. The Dodgers so far through 7 innings have not had a man in scoring position. That's small consolation. They're 0 for 10 in the series against Miami with runners in scoring position. Fastball, was able to pull it at 96. 1 ball and 1 strike. Tomorrow night, Maeda and Fernandez. Maeda with an ERA of 0.3, and Fernandez sitting alongside of Chen, whom we saw the other night. Very impressive weigh-in Chen. Chopper wide at third. Turner down to Kendrick, who turns. It is in time at first. So the double play around the horn, as they used to call it. 5-4-3. Now let's see, however. Miami is saying hold everything. We're going to review. So Mattingly on the steps, and we have to wait. So Mattingly has informed the plate umpire, Todd Tishner. Here's the play. Very close. Very close. Real Muto runs very well as a catcher. Look at there. That kind of looks like he's safe, but we'll wait and see. So Mattingly and Wallach, who challenged when they were with the Dodgers, now come and challenge against the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, to a man, have a feeling that he's going to be called safe. That's the play. Foot on. First base umpire Bill Miller, he's the crew chief, and that's always been the big deal. Can you see the ball getting into that first baseman's mitt while you're looking at the feet of the runner? No easy trick. Yeah, we have high-powered cameras, tape delays. We've got all kinds of things, and even then it's tough for us. So you can imagine an umpire. He's got the millimeter of a second, and the runner is safe, and he looks safe. So a good call, and that's the whole objective, is to get it right. Dodgers did turn a double play in the 6th inning, but they come up short here in the 8th. Justin Bour, left-hand hitting first baseman, is going to come up and bat for Johnson and then take over at first base. B-O-U-R. Bour has been a pull hitter throughout his young career, but he's trying now to hit the ball everywhere as opposed to just trying to rip it into right field. He's a big guy, 6'4" and about 260. He is trying so hard to go the other way that early, the first 8 games this year, he was leading the major leagues in balls hit to the opposite field. We'll see what he does tonight. Kendrick is playing him 10 feet out in right field. A lot of bat movement as he strides into the pitch. In the early going, this pull hitter has suddenly hit 53% of his at-bats to left field. The outfield is deep. Thompson slightly favoring left center. See that bat moving? One ball and one strike. He'll kind of stride. Take a look. That's an awful lot of bat movement as he strides towards the ball. 1-2. Foul back. So Pedro Baez facing James Bohr. Bohr was in the Cubs system, and a couple of years ago they picked him up. Last year he had 23 home runs, topped by only Chris Bryant. Foul back. Jock Peterson as well. First time he came up was June 2014. Made his debut. Went on to bat and hit .284 with a home run and 11 RBIs. But boy, he is constant motion up there. And got him. So Bohr batting for Johnson, called out on strikes. No runs, no hits, a walk, and a man left. We're heading for the bottom of the 8th. 2-0 Miami. Blanket to the rescue. So far, the Dodgers have been blanketed. No runs and 2 hits. So 2-0. Miguel Rojas, a former Dodger, a marvelous defensive player, takes over at first base. Johnson gave way to the pinch hitter. The pinch hitter struck out, and Rojas takes over. Meanwhile, young man Justin Nicolino has shut the Dodgers down through 7. He's allowed 2 hits, and A.J. Ellis will greet him with a strike. 0-1. The Dodgers have not had a chance to score because they haven't had a man get to second base. One ball and 1 strike. A.J. Ellis hit back to the box, grounded to short. 0 for 2. 2-1. Paid attendance tonight. 38,909. 38,909. Tomorrow night, Maeda and Fernandez. That's in there. Nicolino has done everything that we have heard about. Changeup is a great pitch. Of course, it has to be set up by the fastball, and he's had good control. This will be his 99th pitch. A little chopper to the right side. Gordon flips it over to Rojas. 1 away in the 8th. Dodgers trying to dodge their third straight loss. It would be their first 3-game losing streak. Miami is not only trying to make it 4 in a row, they want to take the series. And that should be all for Nicolino. Don Mattingly going out. He's made 99 brilliant pitches. The kid just called up. What a job he did, and he deserves a round of applause. He did not allow a Dodger to get to second base. Throwing behind him the last 2 innings, and now coming in Brian Morris, and we'll come back in a minute.
57, Brian Morris.
He's 99 pitches. He must be a really good kid. We were talking about him earlier, how they drowned him in ketchup and milk and mustard and anything liquid when he had those 7 shutout innings against Cincinnati. They teased him in batting practice when he failed a bunt against the Dodgers, and the next day they had this big, huge fake bat. They brought that to him. And now he was really welcomed when he went into the dugout. A lot of hugs and pats on the back. So he's got to be a good guy. All right, we'll see about another good guy, Brian Morris, facing Chase Utley. Utley coming into the game as a pinch hitter. Looks at ball 1. Chase hitting .301. Morris in his 12th game. 2 holds. One ball and no strikes. Fastball just missed. By the way, we were talking about saying the Dodgers have not had a runner in scoring position. They do have one. Sager back in the 2nd inning singled and took second as Kendrick grounded out, and that's it. So they're 0 for 11 so far, and it's really more than that in the series. Now Morris suddenly comes in, 3-0 count. And missed on 4 pitches. So Brian Morris walks in, gives up a walk, and now Yasmani Grandal will come up and bat. So Utley keeps it alive with the walk. 1 out in the 8th inning. Grandal's power is from this side, hitting .273. Remember last year he hit 15 home runs batting Real Muto trying to settle things before it happens with Morris. Anxious time for Don Mattingly. It is a little cooler now as the evening gets along. So the fleece blankets come in handy. Yes, bundle time. It's 59 degrees right now. Hand blowing time. Down in the dugout, it's always colder. Mattingly gesturing to the dugout, and I think he will bring in a left-hander who I believe was down there. But we'll find out in a moment. Morris, somewhat bewildered, comes off, and we'll be right back. Spells it E-G-E. He's only been in 2 games. He's from Sioux City, Iowa. A left-hander who drops down with his body, but then comes 3/4 over the top. 6'1", about 190 pounds. 24 years old. And by bringing him in, that turns Grandal around from batting left-handed. He'll now go the other way, hitting right-handed. Kike Hernandez on deck. So the Dodgers have Utley at first, 1 out in the 8th, 2-0 in favor of Miami. Edgy having a look around for the moment. And Grandal back in. And of course, extremely interested is young Nicolino, who went 7 1/3 of a shutout game. Just off the corner. 1 ball and no strikes. For Edgy, he's been in 2 other games since being called up. Made his debut against the Giants. Tricky move. We told you he kind of bends down, and it looks like he was coming to the plate, and he was able to go over to first base. So the Dodgers, with George Lombard over there, trying to pick off that move. Close to a balk. Remember, you throw in the direction you step. 2-0. So Morris walked the hitter. Edgy now is falling behind 2-0. Hernandez on deck. Dodgers trying to get off the floor. Way out there. Edgy doesn't throw hard. And when you don't throw hard, you got to throw strikes, and he hasn't done either. So 3-0.
And that's in there at 84. That's where he lives. Going basically 84, 85. Three and one. Utley has to be very careful. That's a unorthodox delivery. The one thing for a veteran base runner, the left-hander is open, so he's a little easier to read. But it's a borderline, very thin between stepping towards home and stepping towards first. Flip that inside for ball 4. So now for Nicolino, through no fault of his own, the Dodgers have 2 runs aboard, down 2-0. And Kike Hernandez will be the batter. Hernandez struck out, walked, fly to right. Now Mattingly is heading towards home plate, so we might very well have a double move here. They're going to go to the bullpen. Edgy appeared to be very edgy, so he'll be coming out. Miami trying to hold on to a 2-0 lead with 1 out, bottom of the 8th, and we'll be right back. Center field, and he'll bat second when the Marlins come up in the 9th inning. And the new pitcher is David Phelps, and he will go in Ozuna's spot, who started the game in center field. So Phelps in his 10th game with a record of 2-1 and a great earned run average of 1.3. Strikeouts to walks very good, 3-1. For the Dodgers, Jock Peterson has come out, and it looks like Peterson will be coming up to bat for Kike Hernandez. So Utley, Grandal, and now Peterson, 3 Dodger pinch hitters with 1 out in the 8th, and Miami trying to hold on to a 2-0 lead for young Justin Nicolino, who was absolutely brilliant until they took him out here in the 8th inning. So Nicolino gave up to Morris, then to Edgy, and now to Phelps. Here's Peterson batting .276, 3 home runs, and 10 runs batted in. Morris with 1 out and 2 aboard. High and tight, ball 1. So David Phelps comes in, says hello. Peterson coming off the bench. 1-0 the count. David Phelps out of St. Louis, Missouri, and the University of Notre Dame in there. 1-1. Phelps is 6'2", 190. He was signed by the Yankees way back in 2008. Made it a couple of times, 2012, 13, 14, and then came over to the Marlins last year. Phelps had a brother, Mike, who for a while was in the Cubs organization. Basically, fastball, curve, changeup, and Real Muto out to talk to him. The Marlins traded former Dodger pitcher Nathan Eovaldi to acquire Phelps and Martin Prado. The basic thing they tell me about Phelps, he has to get his secondary pitches for strikes in fastball counts. So let's see. 1-1 the count. 1-2. A staggering swing by Jock Peterson. You'll get a fastball, curve. You'll also get a slider and a changeup. He throws sinkers more often than a four-seam fastball. And he has a very good cutter. With 2 on, the tying runs, 1 out, 8th inning, 2-0 Miami. Adrian watching his move along with Dave Roberts. In the dirt, scrambling stop by Real Muto. 2-2 the count. So Phelps bouncing the breaking ball. Now he goes 2-2. You can imagine how Nicolino feels. Oh my gosh. They call me up here. I allow one man to get to second base. I go 7 1/3 shutout innings, and now all of a sudden all my effort might go down the drain. No pitch, so the count stays 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 out, 2-0 Miami. Bottom of the 8th. Fastball missed. So Miami scratched for 4 hits and 2 runs in the first inning. The Dodgers literally have done nothing. Boy, that was close. Pretty good pitch with 2 strikes. Peterson taking that. That's remarkable. 3-2, and the crowd making some noise. Three and 2 to Jock. Ball 4. And Phelps annoyed with the plate umpire, and he's going to be thrown out of the game. Whoa! Todd Tishner throws the pitcher out of the game. All I did was ask, he said. I just asked. That's all. Wow, that's tough. So in the 9th inning, and now Mattingly is thrown out of the game by Todd Tishner. So Nicolino is still the pitcher of record. Well, it's been Nicolino, Morris, Edgy, and Phelps. The Dodgers getting 3 walks with 1 out in the 8th inning. "100% baloney," said the plate umpire Tishner. It wasn't baloney. So both Don Mattingly and his pitcher kicked out of the game. And you could read Phelps' lips, and he kept saying, "All I did was ask," where the pitcher would holler, "Where was it?" on ball 4. This is a big game, said Mattingly.
Beginning to pitch for the Marlins, number 62, Jose Urena.
Jose Urena is coming in out of the bullpen. Urena has had 1 game experience against the Dodgers. So quite an inning. There's a pitch so close, but it wasn't in the zone. Phelps then gestured, "Where was it?" And Todd Tishner apparently threw him out for that gesture and the voice call. Where was it? See him extend his arm. Tishner indicates it was inside and now throws him out of the game. And for emphasis, make sure he's thrown out. We could only read the lips of David Phelps when he said, "All I did was ask." But one of the things an umpire always gets annoyed about is when you gesture to incite the crowd. So a harmless gesture by Phelps saying, "Where was it?" Well, that got the crowd a bit, and Todd dumped him. So Jose Urena will be coming in, trying to throw strikes. Urena is a kid. He's had 112 days of experience. 6'2", about 200-pounder from the Dominican Republic. So all of a sudden, a game that had been dominated by Justin Nicolino suddenly gets out of hand a bit on walks. Tim Wallach will now take over the ball club as Mattingly has been kicked out. I read somewhere recently that Mattingly was quoted as saying, "I don't plan to get thrown out this year." Well, the best of plans of mice and men. Though we'll see about Urena now as he comes in, and the whole thing is to throw some strikes at least. So the Dodgers have the bases loaded without hitting the ball. There was 1 out when they took Nicolino out. Utley batted and Morris walked him. Then Edgy came in and he walked Grandal. So then Phelps came in and he walked Peterson. So bases loaded, 1 out, and Yasiel Puig will be the batter. Todd saying, "Okay, it's time to hit," and here comes Puig. Yasiel Puig, in case you wonder, has 1 grand slam. He hit it against Atlanta, and that was 2 years ago. So Puig tonight lined out. Nice catch by Echeverria. Popped up, grounded to short, 0 for 3. So Puig versus Urena. Fastball. And remember, most of Puig's home runs are on the first pitch. 0-1. And there's Nicolino dying a little bit on the railing. Wei-Yin Chen along with him. Fastball and a big foul ball down the line. In center field, Ichiro Suzuki. And Suzuki figures to bat in the 9th inning. He appeared last night as a pinch hitter and single to left. All right, 0-2 the count to Puig. Utley, Grandal, and Peterson on the lines. Fastball in at 96. Foul tip, and down he goes. So Urena comes in, strikes out Puig with the bases loaded, and with 2 out, Adrian Gonzalez. So Nicolino, whose game is still on the line. Wei-Yin Chen along with him on the rail. And the batter Gonzalez grounded to short, walked, grounded to first, but those at bats were against Nicolino. Hitting .325. Fastball, ball 1. Adrian Gonzalez with 4 grand slams in his career and 122 RBIs with the bases loaded. So he's got Utley, he's got Grandal, and he's got Peterson. 1-1. Two to nothing in favor of the Marlins, and the Dodgers with the bases loaded and 2 out in the bottom of the 8th. 1-1. And a fly ball to right field. Stanton is there, and the Dodgers leave 3 in the 8th inning, and that heave of sigh of relief is young Piccolino. And we're going to the 9th inning, 2-0 in favor of the Marlins. And OH. 2 runs, 8 hits for Miami. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Dodgers move the furniture around, so Howie Kendrick goes from second base to left field. Jock Peterson will go into center field. Chase Utley takes over at second base. And Joe Blanton, the 4th Dodger pitcher, coming in. Kazmir, Liberatore, Baez, and Blanton. Echevarria coming up has flied to left, grounded to first, and hit into a double play. So the shortstop playing brilliantly on the defense and struggling with the bat. Hitting just 180. Little slider for a strike, and the count 0-1. Suzuki on deck. 1 ball and 1 strike. Another slider off the plate. Hit foul off to the right, out of play, and the count 2-2. Dodgers with just 2 hits tonight. Seager a single, Turner a single, and that's it. That's also a fly ball to center, and Peterson is there. So Echeverria goes 0 for 4, and we have 1 out in the 9th. Now here is Ichiro. Suzuki stands about 5'11", 170 pounds. He'll be 43 in October. He has 2,943 hits, tying Frank Robinson for 33rd on the hit list. Strike. Grandal behind the plate, and we've got everybody fixed in their positions. Suzuki started playing in the year 2000 in Japan. Check swing for a strike. 0-2 to Ichiro. And hits a flare to center, but Peterson was playing him shallow. Well, last night a single to left, tonight a fly ball to left, and with 2 out, Gordon coming up. D. Gordon singled, scored a run in the first inning. Since then 0 for 3. Fastball hit down the line, foul, and out of play. When the Dodgers come up in the 9th inning, if you are not keeping score, they're due to send up Justin Turner, Corey Seager, and Howie Kendrick. In there. 0-2 to D. 1 hit, scored a run. Just show him a fastball. 1-2 the count. Fastball. Did he get any of it? No, and he'll be tagged out by Gordon. So it's a 1-2-3 inning for Joe Blanton, and we're going to the bottom of the 9th with Miami trying to win their 4th in a row, leading 2-0. In favor of Miami in a rather strange bottom of the 8th inning. Strange in the sense the minimum number of pitches made by the relievers. In other words, Brian Morris came in and made 4 pitches. Edgy came in and made 5 pitches. Phelps came in and he was kicked out of the game. He made 6 pitches. And Urena came in, struck out Puig, got Gonzalez, and he only made 7 pitches. So altogether, you had 22 pitches in the inning with 4 pitchers making the delivery. Very rare inning. So the Dodgers now down to their last 3 outs, Turner, Seager, and Kendrick. And remember, if Miami holds on to win the game, they will have won the series, meaning they win a series against the Dodgers here for the first time since 2010. And that's a strike to Turner. Justin flied to right, flied to left, single to center. Dodgers with 3 walks in the 8th inning. Fastball overthrown. For Urena, he is looking for his first career save. He had 4 saves in the minor leagues. Young man from the Dominican. The Giants won their game. I'm not sure what Arizona did, but the Giants won. Dodgers lose. Giants would be a half a game back. If Arizona wins, they'd be a half a game back. The Cardinals, however, are pounding Arizona 11-4 in the 9th inning. But it could be a big night for the Giants. But then again, it's April. 2-2. Nicolina still a pitcher of record. So is Scott Kazmir. It all depends on Urena. 2-2. Fastball foul back. There he is. Just called up, relieving Jared Kotscher, who was supposed to pitch. 7 1/3 shutout innings. 3 outs away from a win. Two and two, and it's an agonizing wait for Nicolino. Ball 3. So here we go again. Utley, Randall, and Peterson as pinch hitters all receive walks. Dodgers have gotten 5 walks in the game. Little ground ball to short. Gets a Barria making a high throw. Gets it over to Rojas. Dodgers down to 2 outs.
Shortstop number 5, Corey Seager.
Corey Seager celebrating his 22nd birthday. Single to center. Flied out twice. 1 for 3. Flied pretty deep to center field back in the 4th inning. Hitting back of him, Howie Kendrick. High foul, that's out of play. Don't forget tomorrow night. Maeda going up against Fernandez in the concluding game of the 4-game series, with the Padres coming in for the weekend. Little ground ball to third. Prado kicks it, recovers, and throws him out. So the Dodgers tonight have 2 hits. Prado still had time to throw out a left-handed batter who runs well. So with 2 out, Howie Kendrick has his foot in the door. Grounded to third, grounded to first, hit into a double play. Right. breeze blowing from right to left, which is not normal. Most of the time, the wind goes from left to right. But this has been kind of a strange night anyway. Justin Nicolino could not care which way the wind is blowing. He's looking for a victory. 0-2 to Howie Kendrick. Two runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Marlins, and that's just off the plate. No runs, 2 hits, and no errors for the Dodgers. Particularly frustrating for them to get 5 walks. One and two. Fastball, sliced foul. Urena hits 96 on the gun. And it's still 1-2 to count to Howie Kendrick. Maeda and Fernandez tomorrow night. Kenta with that remarkable earned run average of 0.3. Watch him again. Another foul ball. Earlier we were talking about Fernando Valenzuela. 4 shutouts in his first 5 games here at Dodger Stadium and an earned run average of 0.2. So we'll see about Maeda tomorrow night. Off speed and missed. Real Muto has to go back to get it, and the throw is in time. So Nicolino has gotten the victory. It's a big thrill for the kid from Orlando. They called him up and he did exceptionally well. So the Dodgers go very quietly. For Urena, he picks up his first major league save. 2 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Marlins. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. And the Marlins have won their first series here since 2010. And the player of the game, obviously, the young left-hander, Nick Paulino. And Nick just gets his strikeouts, took care of a few, not a bunch. He had just a couple, but he had enough to win. And now the Dodgers have lost 3 straight. The Marlins have won 4 straight, and they'll be on the line tomorrow night. We'll talk to you then. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.